Good morning, everyone. My name is Elliot Payne. I'm the president of the Minneapolis City Council. Before we convene our meeting, we have a special presentation, which is a recognition of the 50th anniversary of the city's passage of the 1974 Gay Rights Ordinance. I'll call on my colleagues for that presentation, Council members Jenkins, Chavez, and Koski. And we can welcome our guests up to this space as well, and Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Lee, let's switch.
Yeah.
Lee, can you come and sit next to me?
Right there.
I want to give you credit for you're calling me up. Okay, you think we're good?
Stay right
We got everybody?
Right here?
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you.
Hello, good evening. Are we, is the mic on? We're good? Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this great celebration. My name is Michael Rainville. I represent the 3rd Ward, and I just want to give a brief introduction as to why we're doing this, and then my fellow council members are going to read the resolution. And it's very historic today, celebrating 50 years of the passage of the Gay Rights Ordinance. And this all came about because Lee Munich, who was one of the authors many years ago, just called me up and said, you know, this is a very historic event, and we should celebrate this. So I talked with Councilmember Koski, her staff, helped take the ball. And then is Patrick Sandler in there? Patrick, he's in the corner. But let's give a round of applause to Patrick. So. All these wonderful words we're going to read, the wordsmith was Patrick Sandler, so thank you so much, Patrick. And my last remark before we start this is just the fact that it's so important to celebrate. I was fortunate enough to go to De La Salle High School, and we had a great educator, Brother Michael Collins. And time again, he would say, if you don't celebrate success, it never happens. And today we're celebrating success. So with that, Emily, you want to get us going here?
Yes, I will. All right. Celebrating the 50th anniversary of the passage of the Gay Civil Rights Ordinance by the Minneapolis City Council. Whereas the public history of LGBTQ activism in Minnesota dates back to the late 1960s and early 1970s, mirroring national protests such as the Stonewall Uprising in New York in 1969, and even earlier New York activism, including the Mattachine Society demonstration at the U.S. Army Induction Center and at public beaches, and early gay and lesbian rights demonstrations in Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia. And whereas in 1970, Jack Baker, Jack is here with us today, and Michael McConnell, there he is, became the nation's first same-sex couple to legally marry in Mankato, representing not only their interests, but the population of student activists Baker represented at the University of Minnesota, where he became the country's first openly gay student body president. And whereas McConnell, over the next couple of years, decided to start one of the country's earliest gay community centers called Gay House, where actions focused on getting Minneapolis's Pride Parade off the ground. And whereas on March 29th, 1974, the Minneapolis City Council passed an ordinance protecting the rights of lesbian, gay, and bisexual individuals in the city of Minneapolis, the ordinance was amended the following year in another historic move that garnered far less publicity or opposition to become the first legislation protecting transgender people. And whereas on April 4th, 1974, my father, Mayor Al Hofstad, signed the ordinance into law.
Whereas on April 4th, whereas the City Council added affectional or sexual preference into the existing civil rights ordinance establishing it as a protected class in Minneapolis. And whereas, following the passage of this ordinance, Northwestern Bell changed its personnel policy throughout the region that previously proclaimed hiring people for any position, previously prohibited hiring any people for any position that put them into people's homes. What a sad thing, huh? You couldn't go into someone's house. Whereas in September 1975, Aldermen Rockenstein, DeMars, Johnson, and Quinlan introduced an amendment to the ordinance defining affectional preference as having or manifesting an emotional or physical attachment to another consenting person or persons, or having or protecting a self-image not associated with one's biological maleness or one's biological femaleness. And, council member, you want to start there, and then Andrew, we're going to have you wrap it up.
And whereas the ordinance was passed unanimously on December 30th, 1975, and whereas an MSNBC article on June 3rd, 2016 noted that this amendment established Minneapolis as the first city in the country to pass protections for transgender people, and whereas in 1989, Minnesota laws were expanded to cover hate crimes based on a person's sexual orientation, and whereas Minneapolis passed an ordinance recognizing domestic partnership in 1991, and whereas in 1993, Minnesota expanded the 1989 law to include gender identity, becoming the first state in the nation to enact a law banning discrimination against transgender people.
And whereas in 2013, Minnesota legalized same-sex marriage, following the 2012 ballot measure in which voters rejected constitutionally banning same-sex marriage. I think that deserves a round of applause. Whereas in 2019, Minneapolis became the first city in Minnesota to ban conversion therapy on minors. And whereas in July 2021, an executive order was signed and implemented to ban conversion therapy within the state of Minnesota. And whereas in 2023, the Minnesota Senate passed a bill to add sexual orientation and gender identity or expression to the state constitution. And whereas since March 2023, Minnesota has been labeled a trans refuge state. And whereas Minneapolis became one of the first major cities in the United States to adopt a gay rights ordinance. And whereas this bold and courageous action by the Minneapolis City Council paved the way for future expansion and evolvement of the rights for all lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, asexual, plus people in the city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and city council do hereby celebrate the 50th anniversary of the passage of the Gay Civil Rights Ordinance by the Minneapolis City Council. You know, I just want to thank the authors personally, because I may not be sitting here today as a member of the city council had not this policy been enacted. So policies matter. Local government matters. And you guys did a tremendously brave, courageous, and meaningful thing to open the door to allow the protections of gay, transgender, lesbian, bisexual folks being welcome in the city. And as we know right now today, LGBT rights, transgender rights are under attack at this very moment. And so we must be diligent and continue to fight for the rights and humanity of everyone, and particularly LGBTQIA plus folks.
Thank you. Well spoken.
I now would love to open up if anybody else that's here and has joined us would like to say a few words.
May we have Earl. Earl, could you represent kind of the city council, some brief remarks? Some brief remarks.
Brief remark.
I'm going to stand next to you.
Well,
City council.
I'm going to reprise what I said earlier today. In 1974, as the resolution,
There you go. There you go.
I'm unaccustomed to this. In 1974, there was no groundswell of support for gay rights. There had been Jack and others who had raised the issue locally and nationally, but it was Stephen Dean, one individual who, working out of my office, would visit with each of the council members and explain that no, the existing non-discrimination ordinances were inadequate, that it was necessary to do something different. And he had to get each of us to be willing to make that vote, which was politically dangerous, frankly. At that point in time, I might have been able to come up with 5 or 6 people that were gay in the entire knowledge. People were in the closet. We didn't know. It just was a scary thing. And we're afraid that we would get kicked out of office if we voted for something like this. But Steve made the point that it was the right thing to do. And that's what it all comes down to, human rights. And if it weren't for him, I don't think that it would have passed. And I just need to tip a hat to someone now deceased who was as instrumental as anybody in this process.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Earl. And I know that I want to introduce you to Aaron, Ward 11 constituent, and has a few things to say too.
Hi. I'm not a council member or like a leader of any like thing for queer people, but I am queer people. I am a queer trans kid who lives in Minnesota, and I consider myself very lucky to live in a state that's safe enough for me to express myself. I legally changed my name in 2023 to Aaron, and I've been so happy with how it is. And I don't think I could be more grateful to live in a state that recognizes me and lets me be who I am legally. And it's just something that makes me very proud, and I'm proud to represent my community today.
Thank you. Thank you, Aaron. And you are a leader in so many ways, and I'm grateful that you're here today. So,
I am Kat Rohn, the Executive Director of Outfront Minnesota, our state's largest LGBTQ advocacy group. And I would like to say a few things. One, gratitude to all those who worked on this ordinance and all the work that has been done in Minneapolis and throughout our state over the last 50 years and beyond to advance LGBTQ rights, to make visible our communities and our beauty and all of the contributions that we make to these communities. Minnesota and Minneapolis continue to be national leaders on LGBTQ equity and on leading the way in changing a national narrative that is still deeply harmful to LGBTQ folks. This ordinance back in 1974 and 1975 changed the face of this city and changed the trajectory of this state, and that work continues today. Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else? I think I'm not seeing anybody else. So, did you want to say another thing?
Yeah, I do want to wrap it up, but I just want to note that Steve and Dean, who was just mentioned, was also one of the early founders of the Human Rights Campaign. And the Human Rights Campaign is the largest LGBT advocacy organization in the entire world. And I'm very proud to serve as a member of the HRC board. So thank you, Stephen and Dean, for all of your incredible work throughout the history of the LGBT movement.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you very much. Oh, great. Good to meet you.
I knew Alice.
Great, wonderful.
Speaking of wonderful, she was.
Oh, thank you.
You need to step back for photos.
Oh, photos. Okay.
Jack. Photo.
Come on up. How you doing? You gotta hurry up and get in here.
You need to turn your head that way, yeah.
Jenkins was just wondering.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks very much.
Okay.
No, I think
Thank you for that presentation. And at this time, I'm going to call this regular meeting of the City Council for April 11th to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
Present.
Councilmember Chavez.
Present.
Councilmember Beasley.
Present so far.
Councilmember Ellison.
Here.
Councilmember Koski.
Present.
Councilmember Wansley.
Present.
Councilmember Jenkins. As absent, Councilmember Palmisano.
Present.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Present.
Councilmember Cashew.
Present.
Councilmember Osler.
Present.
Vice President Shughai.
Present.
President Payne.
Present.
There are 12 members present.
Let the record reflect we have a quorum. Colleagues, the agenda for today's meeting is before us. Having consulted with the clerk, I believe we should adjust the order of our agenda by moving motions just prior to the notice of ordinance introductions. You can see that we have two items on the agenda that pertain to transportation network companies, and I think it will make sense and result in a better process if we take up the motion to reconsider first, which is essentially old business, before we address the new item that is being noticed. If there is no objection, we will reorder the agenda that way. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Not seeing any. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vito.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osmond.
Aye.
Vice President Sugden.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the agenda is adopted. The next item is acceptance of minutes from our regular meeting on March 21st. I would entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved. Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vito.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osmond.
Aye.
Vice President Sugden.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and those minutes have been accepted. Finally, we have the referral of petitions, communications, and reports to proper committees. May I have that motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vito.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osmond.
Aye.
Vice President Sugden.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and those matters have been referred. The next order of business is the presentation of reports from our standing committees. Those are taken in alphabetical order, beginning with the report of our Administration and Enterprise Oversight Committee, which will be presented by its chair, Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Council President Payne. The Administration and Enterprise Oversight Committee is bringing forward 15 items for approval. Number one is a gift acceptance from the Institute for Intergovernmental Research of Travel Expenses. Two is a gift acceptance from the Open Mobility Foundation of travel and lodging expenses. Number three is a staff direction related to law enforcement recruitment, hiring, and retention practices. Number four is a bid for sanitary manhole multi-layer polymeric lining. Number five is bid for upgrades of ADA pedestrian ramps in Penhurst Residential. Six is a bid for 2024 water main cleaning and lining. Seven is a bid for First Avenue South Bridge reconstruction project. 8 is a bid for hauling and disposal of agricultural liming materials. 9 is a contract with UKG Inc. for providing timekeeping and scheduling software. 10 is contracts with various vendors for 2024 Homegrown Minneapolis Community Project. Number 11 is a contract amendment with Axon Enterprise, Inc. for a patrol car video management system for the police department. 12 is a contract amendment with Midwest Diesel Service, Inc. for Crane Carrier Cooperation Truck Parts and Service. 13 is contract amendment with Michael's Trenchless, Inc. for the Public Works Water Main Cleaning and Lining 2023 project. And then 14 is a legal settlement for Sommer French. And then number 15 is a collective bargaining agreement for the Laborers Local 363 for 2024 through 2026. With that, I will move approval of all items and stand for questions.
Councilmember Wansley has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll have the clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vito.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osmond.
Aye.
Vice President Sugden.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and that report is adopted. The next report is from our Budget Committee, and that report will be presented by that committee's chair, Vice President Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Budget Committee has 5 items today, 4 of which are recommended for approval, and 1 of which is being recommended for deletion. Item number 1 is passage of resolution for debt service payments. Item number 2 is appointments to the 2024 Local Board of Appeal and Equalization. Item number 3 is rollover of unspent 2023 appropriations. Item number 4 is approving a legislative directive requesting deleting biannual personnel reports. And item number 5 is deleting from the agenda resolution amending the 2024 general appropriation resolution for small business financing to supplement existing programs. I will move approval of the committee's report, which includes deleting item number 5 from the agenda.
Vice President Chugtai has moved approval of the Budget Committee's report. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, President Payne. Can we have a separate vote on item number 4, please?
Councilmember Vita has requested a separate vote for item 4. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, I will have the clerk call the roll on items 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellis.
Mr.
Aye.
Clerk, your microphone.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and those items are adopted. Next, we will take up budget item number 4. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
No.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
No.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Nay.
Councilmember Palmisano.
No.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 9 ayes and 4 nays.
That item carries. And next, we will have the report from our Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee, which will be given by that committee's chair, Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, President Payne. Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee is bringing forward 14 items for approval. We'll be also moving to delete item 2, 3, and 4 from the agenda. Item 1 is approval on-sale wine with strong beer limited entertainment license, Duet Coffee and Wine. Item 2, 3, and 4, license reunification for outstanding taxes. The Minnesota Department of Revenue has issued a clearance letter for all those 3 businesses. So I will be moving on Thursday to delete these items. Item 5 is for liquor license approval. Item 6 is 193 liquor license renewal. Item 7 is 3 gambling license approvals. Item 8 is contract amendment with Mead Minneapolis for sales and marketing for the convention center and convention tourism services for the city. Item 9 is resolution establishing the African American Heritage Work Group. Item 10 is MOU with Workforce Development Partners for North Minneapolis Career Force Center. Item 11 is resolution approving the budget and operation of the governmental program for MacPhail Center for Music. Item 12 is approving a grant application to the U.S. Department of Labor to expand registered apprenticeship program. Item 13 is 6 Affordable Housing Trust Fund Award extensions. Item 14 includes several approvals related to the Olson Court project. Item 15 includes approval related to the Downtown East Commons. Item 16 authorizes a lease renewal between the MCDA and the city for the Convention Center Hotel parking ramp. Item 17 is accepting a number of brownfield grants. With that, I will move approval for item 1 and 5 through 17, and I will move to delete item 2, 3, and 4. Thank you, Chair.
Councilmember Osman has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. I just wanted to celebrate number 8, which is a contract amendment with Meet Minneapolis for sales and marketing of the convention center and for tourism services for the city. And serving on the Meet Minneapolis board, I've learned how productive and really excellent these services are. And so I just want to thank Jeff Johnson, our staff, for working on this contract, for briefing council members, and I'm excited to be approving it today.
Thank you, council member. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the report is adopted. The next report is from our Climate and Infrastructure Committee, which will be presented by that committee's chair, Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Climate Infrastructure Committee is bringing forward 4 items today. One is Franklin Avenue reconstruction project concept layout approval and easements. Number 2, Richfield Road sidewalk and trail project design, construction, maintenance, and ownership. Number 3, litter capture boom system at Lake of the Isles. Number 4, parking rates for large-scale events at U.S. Bank Stadium, Target Center, and Target Field. I move approval of all these items and will stand for questions.
Councilmember Cashman has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the report is adopted. The next report will be from our Committee of the Whole, which will be presented by that committee's chair, Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee of the Whole brings forward 1 item sent without recommendation. It is a contract with Wiley Raber Law, and there's a revised staff report in front of us that changes the terms of the contract. The request is now that we approve a contract in the amount of $1 million annually, $1.5 million total for 18 months, with an option for renewal for additional 18 months with council approval for assisting the Office of Police Conduct Review with police misconduct investigations. I'll move approval of this item.
Councilmember Chavez has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion and are there any questions? We did do a lot of work on this, so just want to make sure everybody's clear. Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you just highlight that, because I think it's just worth understanding. There was certainly some confusion about it at Committee of the Whole.
I'll call on Vice President Shugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Councilmember Palmisano. You're right. There was a little bit of confusion at Committee of the Whole. So want to just explain what is in front of members, and then perhaps City Attorney Anderson can also jump in and add anything that was perhaps missed. This is an adjustment to the item that came before us now a couple of meetings ago, which was a contract for 3 years instead of 18 months, and for $3 million, so $1 million annually. And it was for the purpose of assisting both the Office of Police Conduct Review along with internal investigations from the Minneapolis Police Department in conducting certain police misconduct investigations. At that time, there was some limitation on what types of cases would be investigated or would be assisted by Wiley Reber, the law firm that we're talking about bringing on here. And since then, because this is a pretty sensitive subject, and the way our misconduct investigations are handled, we're the subject of a lot of scrutiny and they were the subject of many parts of the investigation completed into the city of Minneapolis by the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. We were able to then meet with the Minnesota Department of Human Rights alongside ALIFA, which is they are our independent evaluator that monitor our settlement agreement with MDHR, with the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. And as a result, we're able to come to make some changes to this contract. For example, the Wiley Reaper will now only be assisting with cases that are within the Office of Police Conduct Review, and there will be a further discussion about among staff and with our independent evaluators about what it looks like for internal investigations to receive this sort of support and on what timeline and exactly what type of case investigation support they need. We've also shortened the contract because the sole purpose of this contract is not to have ongoing support around assistance with misconduct investigations. It is to clear the backlog of investigations that I know is also important to all of us here. So that's where the shortening of the timeline really came from, because our hope is with this assistance that we certainly clear the backlog in less than 3 years, but really in this 18-month time. But should that not happen, there's flexibility built in with council approval to extend this timeline. City Attorney Anderson, would you like to add anything else?
Ms. Anderson.
Sure. Council President, Council Vice President, Councilmember Palmisano, I think Council Vice President Shugtai kind of encapsulated it. I think that sort of the idea in the MDHR settlement agreement, it's important to MDHR to have sort of an investigations being done by IA separately from investigations being done by OPCR. So I think that was like the biggest issue for MDHR and ALIFA is just maintaining that separation. So this contract will only be limited to clearing the backlog for OPCR. It's not to say that IA doesn't also have a backlog and have need of assistance, and we may be going out for a separate RFP for that. But that separation was important to MDHR, so we concluded that. Happy to answer any other questions. But
Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Payne. Do we know the extent of the backlog? Can we talk about that?
Ms. Anderson, would you want to speak to that?
Council President, council members, so I don't have numbers off the top of my head. I believe the last numbers that are rattling around in my brain is the backlog for OPCR maybe is in the somewhere between 200 and 300 cases, but I don't have current numbers, and maybe Casey does.
Mr. President,
Mr.
I don't
Clark.
have the numbers, but I can immediately after this meeting forward to you. The interim director of OPCR at the last meeting of the Community Commission on Police Oversight did provide an analysis of the total number of backlog cases that are existing as of their last meeting a few weeks ago. So I can share that with the body if that's of interest after the meeting.
So, yes, so strike my remarks and we'll get you accurate data.
May I do a follow-up?
Councilmember Jenkins.
Council President, I guess, do we know what's the average amount of cases being concluded in a month? Is that a part of the analysis, Mr. Clerk? Do you know?
Mr. President, Councilmember Jenkins, I'm pulling up through LIMS right now the report that was issued by the interim director of OPCR at their last meeting, and so I will immediately forward that to you. I can't answer those questions, but the report has much of that detail you're asking about.
Thank you. I guess I'm just expressing concern that if we had this backlog and now we're saying we can complete it in 18 months, And just what is the calculus to get to that number?
Vice President Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a couple of calculations that went into shortening the timeline. One, that we reduced the scope of this contract in half. So it made sense that the timeline, because the scope was being reduced by half of what it was prior, that the timeline would shorten as well. Second, I think it's important to not equate the total number of cases in backlog with total number of cases that Wiley Reaper is eligible to support us with. There are a number of different types of cases around misconduct that cannot be contracted out, or we will not be contracting out as a part of this this contract agreement. So like certain types of misconduct cases have to stay in-house. So there's not a 1-to-1 ratio with the number of backlog cases to the number that Wiley Reaper is supporting with.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Anderson, did you want to add any context?
Yeah, thank you, Council President. And Councilmember Jenkins, I would add that there's an option to renew, obviously, with approval of council. So if we get to that 18-month period or near that 18-month period and realize that we still have a large backlog and need the services still, then we'll be coming back for a renewal. The terms of the contract, the price may increase, but, obviously we would have to negotiate with the vendor at that point. But it will allow for us to assess the need at that point and come back to you if necessary.
Thank you again.
And I put myself in queue just to add also that one of the things that gave me confidence about this path forward was ALIFA offering up their services to help review those cases as well and helping to refine what that process is going to look like. So as we ramp up this external investigator, we're also going to be ramping up our capacity internally through that technical support from the independent evaluator.
Thank you. That really helps me to be able to support this item today.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Rain.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Microphone.
Aye. Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the report is adopted. The final report will be offered by our Public Health and Safety Committee, which will be presented by that committee's chair, which is Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Health and Safety Committee is bringing forward 3 items. Item number 1 is authorizing a submittal of a grant application to Hennepin County's Healthy Tree Canopy Grants for developing a tree preservation ordinance. Item number 2 is authorizing the submittal of a joint application with St. Paul Ramsey Public Health to the Minnesota Department of Health for the Transforming the Public Health System Innovation Projects Infrastructure Fund. And item number 3 is approving a legislative directive to create a work group to develop environmental justice goals to reduce air pollution. I'll move forward for approval of these items.
Councilmember Chavez has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just would like to have a couple comments on item number 2.
Please.
If I may. I'm going to be voting for this, but I remain very skeptical, and I'll be analyzing this report. I'm very, very curious about the effect on the community for these safe recovery sites. I know that right now we get calls all the time from community who are impacted by such operations. And again, I'm a skeptic, but I'm going to vote yes for this.
Thank you, Council President Payne. I too want to speak to item number 2. I spoke with the Deputy Commissioner of Health, Heidi Ritchie, about this item when it came up in committee a couple weeks ago, because Ward 4 has now a safe recovery site that was listed in the paper as a safe use site. And so there's a lot of misinformation out there about what legislation has been passed at the state level in order to allow for folks to safely use in neighborhoods. And so I am going to be I'm going to support this, but I'm also going to be watching this closely. I feel comfortable that our staff, along with Ramsey County, are going to be working to gather some information and come back at a later date and share with us, if they receive this funding, to do so around what safe recovery sites would look like in communities. So thank you to Deputy Commissioner Ritchie for spending time and explaining to me what the goal is with this item on the agenda today.
Thank you for those comments. Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chaudhry.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the report is adopted. Thank you, colleagues. That completes the reports of our standing committees. We'll next take up the order of motions, which has one item. That is motion by Councilmember Jenkins to reconsider ordinance number 2024-009 related to minimum driver compensation for transportation network companies. Before I proceed to the vote, let me clarify our procedures. At our last meeting, Councilmember Jenkins gave notice of her intent to bring forward this motion, which is essentially a proposal that will bring back the TNC compensation ordinance so that the body might consider any refinements to the prior act. As everyone is aware, that ordinance was passed over the veto of the mayor and is set to become effective on May 1st. The motion before us does not change that fact. Absent any action on our part, this ordinance will become effective on May 1st. The clerk has prepared a summary of the procedures that are available to us. If this motion to reconsider is adopted, I ask that the clerk's summary be shared with all council members, and you should have received that by email last night. The first step for us to consider is the motion by Councilmember Jenkins. Adoption of this motion requires a majority vote of the members who are present and participating in this meeting. If that motion is adopted, then the original ordinance will be before us again, and we may consider further actions, if any, at that time. Those further actions cannot be considered unless the motion to reconsider is adopted first. So if there are any questions about this procedure, I'm happy to entertain those first. Otherwise, we will proceed to the vote on the motion by Councilmember Jenkins to reconsider ordinance number 2024-009 related to TNC minimum compensation. Are there any questions about the procedure? Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to thank City Clerk Carl and yourself for that explanation of the procedures. So, thank you.
Great. Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chaudhry.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries. Next, we'll take up the order of motions, which has one item. I'm sorry, that's the wrong sheet. Colleagues, now we have ordinance number 2024-009 before us. Again, I'll give a brief explanation about our procedures at this point. After that, I'll ask if there's any further proposals on this ordinance. First, as I already indicated, this ordinance was enacted over the mayor's veto on in March. It included a section which set the effective date for May 1st of this year, in addition to specific pay rates as compensation for TNC drivers. That ordinance was published on March 19th, which gave it legal effect. Therefore, any actions today are presented as ordinances to amend that prior ordinance. Although this feels different, that's exactly how our standard legislative process works. In other words, whenever we amend the code, we do so by enacting a new ordinance that identifies the changes in the code that we want to make. That's essentially what we're doing today. However, and just to be very clear for our constituents, absent any action on our part, the original ordinance will still become effective on May 1st. With the motion to reconsider, we have the opportunity to amend the original ordinance just like we would normally do. And we amend ordinances by passing new ordinances. As provided in the city charter, passing an ordinance requires an absolute majority, which means we must have at least 7 affirmative votes. Anything that we do today must be presented to the mayor as required by city charter. However, only our actions today would be presented to the mayor. That would not open the original underlying ordinance to the mayor. That action is done. I also had asked the clerk to provide an outline of these procedures last night, so I hope you got a chance to read those on what the potential opportunities are. At this point, I'll pause and ask if there's any questions about our procedure. Councilmember Palmisano.
No, that's not where I was in queue.
Any questions about our procedure? I think we are ready to proceed. With that, I will ask if there are any amendments. Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. Yes, I would like to introduce a motion to amend, and the amendment is before you. It's an amendment to the effective date of the ordinance, moving that from May 1st to July 1st. This amendment was crafted with Council President Payne and Councilmember Chowdhury, and in conversation with many council members and business stakeholders and state legislators over the last couple of weeks. So now that we have passed the motion to reconsider the ordinance, this amendment is intended to create a more reasonable timeline for continuing our legislative process while tracking discussions and ongoing collaboration with state officials in their work to craft a statewide policy on this issue. I will also note that we are working proactively at this time to prevent potential disruption in rideshare service with the transition to new rideshare service companies and supporting our communities using public transportation options and continuing to that our diverse communities continue to have mobility. So with that, I will stand for questions and discussion on this amendment.
Councilmember Cashman has moved her amendment. I will call on Councilmember Jenkins. Oh, and is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank the authors of this resolution. It gives us an opportunity to really continue our deliberative process, as well as for various rideshare companies to be able to adjust to the new ordinance as it has been passed by this body. So thank you all.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was really proud to be an author of this amendment. I believe that the extension of our implementation date is a really good thing for us here to accomplish the things that we need to accomplish for the ordinance that is really meant to support fair minimum wage for drivers in the city of Minneapolis and give riders an opportunity to be participating in a rideshare economy that is rooted in justice for workers. and moving forward in that direction. I'll echo the things that Councilmember Cashman mentioned. This allows us as a council to go through our legislative process. There's pieces of discussion that are still happening. For many council members like myself, I am interested in getting information from our policy and research team that has been working on an analysis that considers the state report. In my capacity as IGR chair, I've been talking consistently with state legislative leaders on their respective legislative process, and they have yet to decide key components of their bill and are really looking to us to work on our side and complete our policy as they're completing their bill. They're asking that there is time for us to collaborate together, move through our respective processes, and it matters to me and many of the leaders here on our city council that we are able to go through a collaborative process and really come together on a policy here in the city of Minneapolis that supports our community. And I just want to take some time to thank our legislative leaders and our Minneapolis delegation in joining us to come to the table over the last few weeks. I'll also note, as we have now 4 applications of new rideshare companies. They're in the process of completing those applications and getting licensed, and that takes time. Also, there's been great conversations that have been happening at the Metropolitan Airports Commission, and what I've learned through that is that that also takes time to get licensed. And I've had some good conversations in our twin city next door in St. Paul, where they're receiving applications as well. Their processes are a little bit different. And so I feel really good about this extension. I think this is positive, and it is just getting us to a good place of really coming to the table and having discussions with all of the stakeholders that I've named, but also the community that's currently in the room today and folks that are tuning in and have been reaching out to the council. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Councilmember Chowdhury. Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Council President Payne. Also, I want to echo gratitude to my colleagues for bringing this forward. After speaking to drivers who have been working with several of the new rideshare companies who plan to enter the market in the coming weeks, I feel comfortable supporting this extension. A 2-month extension, as some of my colleagues have already shared, will give new rideshare companies more time to get their operations in order and to also provide additional time for various stakeholders to inform the public about the new rideshare options that are coming to Minneapolis. Additionally, this extension gives the state the chance to finish out their legislative session and pass a strong statewide policy that guarantees minimum wage equivalents to the entire 10,000 Minnesota drivers that provide rideshare services every single day. That said, I am confident that this small delay in implementation will lead to better outcomes for drivers and riders statewide, and also lay a stronger foundation for a Minnesota rideshare industry that is more equitable instead of extremely exploitative, which it is now. So thank you again to our colleagues for bringing this.
Councilmember Vita.
Thank you. I'm going to be supporting this today also, but I'm not going to be supporting this because I think it's a solution. I'm going to be supporting it because my constituents have been living in fear and anxiety over the uncertainty of whether they'll be able to have a job or have housing, get to their jobs, or get their children to school. You know, in this work, we all need to be willing to admit when we get things wrong. And I just think this is a bad policy, and we need to go back and fix it. I really hope that over the next couple of months, there's an opportunity for us to fix it. I hope my colleagues will have the courage to fix it by July 1st. I spoke with a couple of the new proposed rideshare companies, and one in particular told me that they don't even know if they're going to be able to meet the demand of how much Minneapolis is requiring for payment in our ordinance. So it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out with new companies. And then, you know, the second part about a new company is it takes a lot of work and a lot of time to start a new business. And this feels extremely rushed. A month ago, we voted on the extension for the original date for this policy to be enacted. And I recall colleagues saying, oh, yeah, we'll have enough time by April 1st. We just need to extend it out for another month. Now we're going for 2 more months. And I mean, I'm hoping we're going to fix it, but it's a lot of work to start a new business. It's a lot of stress to put on new business owners to start this, to get it going, to work out the kinks. Not all the kinks. We know things happen no matter how old your company is. You're still working out the kinks. But to work out the kinks enough, some of the concerns I've heard about are like the background checks and the vehicles, if they're, going to be checked out. And so I'm really hoping that I'm supporting this because I'm hoping that this 2 months is going to give us time, but I am doubtful that that's going to happen. And, I'm going to end with just saying we as a council, we just can't continue to make these kinds of decisions. If you make decisions without facts, we had a day to wait for the facts. If you make these kinds of decisions without facts, we're no better than Donald Trump. Thank you.
Councilmember Rainville.
Whoa. Donald Trump. Whew. So, first of all, I want to thank the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who have emailed and texted and called the Ward 3 office to explain the trauma that this hastily passed ordinance has caused to their lives and the uncertainty that has caused. And I will be voting for this third deadline because we have to get this right. And this hopefully gives us the time to include the state and Uber and Lyft and any of the new companies, I see some here today, in this discussion, because up until now we have not included all those parties. To say it a different way than Councilmember Vita did, we have to be inclusive and transparent of everybody that this ordinance will affect. So I will be voting for this, but we actually shouldn't put any deadline on. We should not do anything until we get this right. Thank you.
I see Councilmember Chavez in queue, but I believe that is for Councilmember Osman.
Thank you so much, President Payne. I wanted to kind of remind us that if we believe minimum wage, that's exactly what we did a couple months ago. But I want to talk to the drivers. I know this is confused you all, that you have shown up last 2 years and you are on the audience today. This is extension we're doing is reasonable, that we are trying to work with this state, trying to get to a solution. We are committed to you. We will continue to commit to you to get a fair wage like everyone else. Like everyone else sitting here, sitting in Minneapolis, gets a fair wage. They get that protection, and you deserve that protection. So we're committed, and I want to thank the council members who I've been having conversation, Councilmember Chowdhury and Cashman, who have shown leadership and work with the state and making sure that we're not the scapegoat if there's any, anything happens on the state side, that we're willing to work with you. We're committed, passing minimum wage, fair for the drivers. This extension might not influence the threat of Uber and Lyft companies saying that they're leaving. Let's be realistic. We are hostage to them. If we had a competition, if we had other companies, we would not be in this place today. So this extension is a good faith on our side for the state, for the new apps or new companies coming in. But the threats of Uber and Lyft holding us hostage, it's still out there. So just wanted to remind you all that what we did, it's protecting the people that need the most. Drivers have been here, have been advocating, has been showing up, and they deserve protection like everyone else. Thank you so much, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember Osmond. Vice President Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really appreciate some of Councilmember Osmond's comments earlier today, just around, this is about helping people who need it the most, and drivers and workers really who are exploited by these two corporations that hold so much power in the rideshare economy, our responsibility as a government agency and having their back is an important one, and I think it's one we all take very seriously. And I'm really glad that we are willing to admit when it's time for us to slow down and time for us to get to the very best outcome in the conditions that we are in at a given time. So right now we are actually making a lot of progress in our work with the state. We continue to talk to them. Somebody from this council talks to them every day. And we are getting closer and closer to having one shared understanding and one shared wage that works both between the state and the city, right? And finding policy solutions that allow Minneapolis to create a minimum wage that works for our economy while also being complementary to a statewide wage. And that alone, to me, is enough of a reason for us to slow down, that we are getting closer to a place of agreement with our state. And as they work towards the end of their legislative session this year, they continue to want to engage with us and want us to be good faith partners. And this is us, meeting them halfway and trying to figure out a way for all of us to work together. So I feel really optimistic that in the next couple of months, this extension both allows us to get to a statewide policy that's complementary to a Minneapolis policy, and it allows for us time for rider adoption of whatever new rideshare companies are coming into our market. I think there's several that drivers have a pretty close relationship with and are starting to work with, and we want that same type of time for riders to get to have that type of relationship with whoever is new and coming into our market, and I think for those two reasons, I'm excited to support this, and am really appreciative to Council President Payne, Councilmember Cashman, and Councilmember Chowdhury for your work on this.
Thank you, Vice President Chugtai. Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Council President Payne. I also want to thank the authors for bringing this forward. I'll be supporting it, but I want to be very clear. We will never allow Uber and Lyft to continue to exploit our immigrant, our Black, and people of color drivers any longer. The hostage situation that we have by them continuing to threaten them leaving our city and continue exploiting our workers with temper tantrums is unacceptable. So I'll be supporting this. I think it's a good faith effort. I appreciate the authors for bringing this forward. I also want to dispute the facts about us being called Donald Trump. If that was the case, I would have voted no, because I wouldn't believe in workers' rights. But I voted yes, because I believe in workers' rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez. I put myself in queue just to thank my co-authors, Councilmembers Cashman and Councilmembers Chowdhury. This has been a very complex topic to follow. Part of the complexity is just the nature of the market. It's very dynamic, and there's a lot of stakeholders that are impacted. A lot of those stakeholders are in this room right now, but especially the stakeholders at the state capitol, the stakeholders downtown. It's through this deep collaboration across stakeholders that has brought us to this point, and I believe we're going to get to a better outcome as a result. So I really do appreciate your leadership. Seeing no other discussion, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and that amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments? I see Councilmember Palmisano in queue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to rescind the Transportation Rideshare Worker Protections Ordinance, and if I can get a second, I then have some remarks on that.
Second.
First, colleagues, I'd like to thank Councilmember Jenkins for finding a way for us to stop this train. She is the reason why we were able to take a pause today, and all of your approval on that is actually really heartening. This ordinance was awfully misguided. A sign of good faith here is to start over. Interestingly, there's already a lot of ideas as to how, and I welcome them to start with a clean sheet of paper. This ordinance started with the good intent to ensure every rideshare driver earned a city-mandated minimum wage, but it is now so tainted with negative public opinion and outcry that I find it unsalvageable. It's caused Uber and Lyft to make plans to stop providing service to Minneapolis. I'm sure I'm receiving the same communications your offices are. People coming up to me in public, like you all are, from people who are upset, angry, frustrated, and downright despondent over this ordinance. You may actually be receiving more communications than me officially because I'm one of only 3 members of this body to see what a monumentally bad idea this was and vote against it whenever I had a chance. The consequences of this ordinance were clear to me before the first vote. I don't say unintended consequences, I say consequences. It was easy to see what they would be. It was easy to see that large numbers and groups of people would be negatively impacted if even a small amount of forethought was put into this. Rideshare drivers are not a monolith. They're a diverse group of people who pursue this work for a wide variety of reasons. Assuming that they all wanted and would benefit by this was negligent. I've heard from many drivers telling their truths about what this will do to them. It means more competition for less rides if the price of the rides goes up. It means loss of their source of income and ability to provide for their families. TNC drivers who had financed their cars have had them recalled. For a couple of drivers in my own ward, that means everything to their ability to provide for their family. It means the loss of college tuition through the Uber Pro College program. One of my constituents was 3 courses away from being able to finally complete his college degree. These aren't hypotheticals. They're already happening. How did this council push through an ordinance they thought was best without taking into account data and the will of the people? Did they not care? That's not true. We all care. But even as I speak with you this week, it feels like, sadly, other kinds of victories or self-promotion are more important, and frankly, that makes me sad. There are many governmental and nonprofit agencies that supply medical or CADI, community access for disability inclusion waivers to their clients. These are contracts held with Uber and Lyft. What happens to these folks when Uber and Lyft leave the market? Upcoming TNC companies will not be ready to take on that work. They will need time. They'll need to vet any new possible partners. They'll need to ensure their needs are being met and then negotiate a contract. These clients are going to be left without any supported transportation. To suggest that Uber and Lyft can choose to leave this market and new companies will fill this void is a fantasy. The void of 400,000 rides per week in the metro area is not going to be accounted for in even 2 more months. New vendors don't have the infrastructure and technology to fill this. This will take an extraordinary amount of time and money to create new service providers. Those with access to capital are privileged. This immediately puts those without means at a disadvantage, and it's going to perpetuate their historic marginalization. So let's go back to the drawing board and craft an ordinance that meets the needs of drivers, of riders, and the community at large. Or let the state legislature direct a statewide plan. Minneapolis going alone and damaging itself, the metro area, and the rest of the state has proven to be folly. I am willing to support an entirely new common sense ordinance that fulfills the goals of every driver receiving a minimum wage while not doing harm to the rest of the community. I know this is possible if my colleagues are willing. Some of you have important ideas that you're looking to incorporate in a different ordinance. I doubt there is the will here today, but I am here to say, let's start over.
Councilmember Wansley.
God bless you. So I want to provide some clarity for the public about this process, as there has been lots of erasure of the intentionality that went into this policy process. This policy was not done in a haste. There was 2 years of work that went into the development of this policy, starting last year, where hundreds of drivers, after having come to City Hall several times, where several council members were here, preceding myself, heard from drivers saying that they were being exploited by these two corporate giants and they needed government intervention, that they were not being paid the wages that was needed or was in alignment with 70,000 other workers who receive a minimum wage here in Minneapolis. From that, council took action to initiate a legislative process, specifically me, council members Osmond, as well as Councilmember Chavez. We initiated the legislative process. And what did we do first? We said, this policy has to be backed by data. So we initiated a legislative directive that asked the mayor's staff to do an analysis that would get us a minimum wage equivalent for Minneapolis for rideshare drivers. That took several months. And while they were doing that process, we offered to meet with every single council member. And we asked for your feedback. We asked for your input. We asked you for any ideas that you had to help shape this policy. None of you said anything. And then we transitioned into having briefings about the findings from the executive staff's report that got us a $1.40 per mile and a 51 cent per minute. We also had community public sessions where we asked residents, what's your thoughts on this? We had this all throughout the first, second, and third quarter of last year. So we went into August of last year with the proposal of $1.40 per mile and 51 cents per minute, having done extensive engagement, having done analysis that was not just shaped by the mayor's staff, but was done in consultation with national experts, those who also authored the state's DLI report. And then you all voted it down. At least a majority of you voted it down in August, and Mayor Fry vetoed it. And at that point, you all said, let's do this. Let's start from scratch. Let's think through how we can get drivers a minimum wage. And many of you said, actually, that is where there's alignment. We do agree that drivers should earn a minimum wage. And in response to a majority of council members on this body saying we want drivers to earn a minimum wage, the co-authors decided to initiate the legislative process all over again and prioritize the minimum wage because we identified that as having shared agreement amongst this body. And what then we do? We started all over again. We invited every single council members to do one-on-one briefings with the co-authors to bring ideas and shape this policy. We met with the mayor's office. We were in conversations with our state leaders. And we even received, actually, from those conversations, several compensation recommendations. And because, again, we prioritize research, we asked our own staff for the second time to do a research analysis comparing our proposal to the several other compensation rates proposed by council members in the mayor's office. That came forward early this year, and it found that the $1.40 as well as the 51 cent per minute was the closest to guaranteeing drivers here in Minneapolis a minimum wage equivalent. No one has been blindsided by this process. For 2 years, we have done everything to engage critical stakeholders and still are doing that. We have based our policy, even when the state did not do their research, we did our homework because we knew we wanted to ground a wage that was based and backed up by facts. And we did our homework not once, not twice, but 3 times right now. So I want to highlight there was so much intentionality poured into this policy. And also, I don't agree that we're in this position where vulnerable residents and riders like our disabled communities are being pitted against drivers who are also predominantly Black, immigrant, and brown, and who are poor and disproportionately reliant on public assistance themselves. We know when it comes to serving our vulnerable communities, the workforce for disabled folks, for children are often paid the lowest of wages. So this should not be a time where we allow riders who are vulnerable as drivers who are vulnerable to be pitted against each other. You as riders deserve affordable services, and Uber and Lyft can provide that to you. They're choosing not to. And they also are able to provide a $15 minimum wage to our drivers as well. It's a choice that they don't want to do that. So I also want to acknowledge we should not be allowing vulnerable communities to be divided, because that division is being leveraged by 2 multi-billion-dollar corporations who absolutely have no care about disabilities or disabled residents, because they fought ADA compliance policies, and they also don't care about the drivers that they exploit every single day. So I want to level set how we got here today. The research, the work that went into this process. We did not go into this foolishly. We went into this thoughtfully, and it's exactly why today I will continue to support what we passed last month by a supermajority.
Riders with disabilities will be left behind, though. We will be impacted. So consider that.
I put myself in queue because Councilmember Palmisano brought up the issue of some of the driver hardships that she's heard from her community, and I think it's really important to highlight that those hardships are happening right now, today, under the current structure of the marketplace. And those hardships are going to continue if we don't take action now. And that's why we've already taken action. And this is about refining this policy. This is not about starting from scratch. We already know the hardships that drivers are experiencing under the current reality that exists today. So I won't be supporting a rescinding of this. We've already put into process a way to refine this to make it be a really comprehensive solution that works both for the city of Minneapolis and for our partners at the state. We don't need to start from scratch. As Councilmember Wansley has highlighted, we've done a lot of really deep work here, and it's ready to really refine that work going forward. I'll call on Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to clarify the record that I met with the authors of this every single time it was requested. And I added my thoughts around disability riders, which did make it into the ordinance. So to say that no one responded and no one added anything is just factually untrue. I do think we have some new data that can help us determine what is the actual fair amount that we can be assured that drivers are making a minimum wage, as well as maintain the rideshare services that many, many people in our community depend on for their livelihoods, for their access to medical, educational, employment resources that are so desperately needed. So to reconsider this idea which I brought forth so that we can make some pertinent changes to this policy, is very important to me. And, you know, the motion to rescind offers an opportunity to restart, but has been stated there's been much work that has been going on in this process. So I think we need to refine, not necessarily rescind. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jenkins. Councilmember Chowdhury.
Yeah, I just wanted to state for the record, thank you, President Payne, that I will not be supporting this motion to rescind. I think Councilmember Jenkins did a good job just sharing that this is a moment for us to refine and have discussions. I think to rescind and delete the ordinance in its entirety would be a great disservice to the workers and our state leaders that are willing to come to the table with us. I think it's not in alignment with the discussions that we're having with them and the potential discussions that we want to have with the governor's office. I also just want to name, it has never in history been easy to challenge exploitative systems and ask for a change. We are not in a vacuum in the city of Minneapolis. We are participating in addressing an exploitative system across the country that has led to multiple municipalities and whole states asking Uber and Lyft to no longer exploit their workers. And I just want to take this second to say that we need to shift our attention to those companies that have the ability to change this and not impose higher costs on the ridership and not pit working people against each other just to make a higher profit or to appease their investors. And they need to be ready to come to the table to make those commitments. So I will not be rescinding today.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't mean to belabor this anymore. Your timelines are suitable for politics and for sure for politicians, but not for the people of Minneapolis. Let's start over. We can have the rest of the stakeholders, of which there are many, at the table. You know, one important thing from this whole process was to see who is taking rideshare and where they are going. People, I've learned, are taking rideshare to get to their day-to-day needs. In my own ward, some of the most oft frequented starting or stopping points is our local high school and our skilled nursing facility. Other places that people go most often or more often than not are Target, the grocery store, other healthcare providers. This is how some people use it to get to their day-to-day needs. Sometimes you have to start with a clean canvas. You can start from scratch and get to something better on the same timeline we are operating on now. We got here today, was said before, we got here today by relying on information from another city. We did not want to wait for local data. This entire ordinance was based on bad data, and I think we need a fresh start and a fresh look based on the data that's now been provided. It also allows us to consider the immense amount of feedback we've received. Thank you.
Not seeing anyone else in queue for discussion, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
I'm Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
And I'm sorry, the microphones are having problems. You may have to activate your own switch. I'm sorry for that. Councilmember Chavez.
No.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
No.
Councilmember Koski.
Nay.
Councilmember Wansley.
Nay.
Councilmember Jenkins. Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Nay.
Councilmember Cashman.
Nay.
Councilmember Osman.
Nay.
Vice President Shugtai.
No.
President Payne.
No.
There are 3 ayes and 10 nays.
That amendment fails. Are there any further amendments? Councilmember Koski.
Thank you, President Payne. Colleagues, Councilmember Jenkins and I are bringing forward an amendment that adjusts the per mile rate and per minute rates and maintains the regular external evaluations. The amendment's per mile rate, $1.21, is the comprehensive rate recommended in the state's Department of Labor Industry Report. It is based on DLI's data set of more than 18 million Minnesota trips and driver earnings. This rate includes the Minneapolis minimum wage plus benefits. In my conversations with state leaders, the debate there is between 89 cents and $1.21. So this is setting us at the top of their range. Again, in the top of their range, which is rooted in their robust data. The amendment's per minute rate is 51 cents and is the rate recommended in the city's Policy and Research Division's report. It is based on PAR's Minneapolis-specific factors like car rentals, gas, insurance, not considered in the state's DLI report. Leadership in decision-making entails gathering information and making informed choices while also embracing uncertainty and adapting to new information. My goals have and continue to be to ensure fair wages for drivers, stability for drivers and riders, and a healthy, competitive market. This amendment achieves all these goals. Transportation network companies are paying drivers a sub-minimal wage. The City Council took action to fix that. The state and the city have worked diligently to research and analyze available data, and the prevailing result of that work supports an adjustment to the rideshare ordinance. We must now take action to adjust accordingly. We learned yesterday that while our Policy and Research Division may provide additional information in the form of an extremely broad range of outcomes, we will not receive a single data point or range to be universally adopted as the correct compensation rates. The current rates are based on our Policy and Research Division analysis, which was done with the limited data they were able to obtain, which did not include data from Uber and Lyft. The state's DLI analysis was done with significantly more data and included data, like I said, from 18 million Uber and Lyft trips to the state, but predominantly in the city. It's our responsibility to take the information before us and make an objective data-based decision. Moving forward, we will review and can amend the rates using the regular external evaluations ingrained in the existing ordinance. The regular external evaluations will take place 6 months from and annually on the effective date. I'm grateful that the effective date has already been moved back to July 1st. The extension will give the market time to adapt and will give us an opportunity to build a fair and flexible market, or at least the start of building that market with healthy competition and good faith partners. I've been leading ongoing conversations with downtown partners on strategies to enhance market accessibility, boost entry and use for new companies, and support drivers in this transitional period. These strategies include potential grant programs, marketing and advertising support for new companies, and workshops for drivers. Today, I urge my fellow colleagues to consider this amendment that is both centered in our intentions and based on our current available data, the only substantial data we at the city and the state has right now. Thank you for your consideration.
Councilmember Koski has moved that amendment. Is there a second?
Second.
I will call on Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I just want to urge my colleagues to support this amendment that incorporates the research that has been done on our local community by the state of Minnesota. They offered a range, and this amendment is at the top of that range. So it includes the protections around workers, sick and safe time, vacation time, health care, and other kinds of expenses that workers may incur. And again, I would just encourage my colleagues to support this amendment that is based on the data in our local community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jenkins. Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. I am grateful that we have now extended the implementation date of our ordinance so that we can continue having conversations about rate. And just regarding data, I want to thank Councilmember Chowdhury for setting up briefings with the state's DLI team for each council member to actually learn about the process of the methodology behind their data and what it reveals to us. And one thing I want to just clarify for the public and for media is that we have not been able to have any data without doing a legislative process. Uber and Lyft have been very reluctant to actually provide data to the city or to the state, and it's only because of the legislative actions that we've been taking over the last couple of years that they have shown us any data to continue to inform our policies. And I think right now we only have data on drivers from 2022. That's what the study informed. And we would love to have data on riders. Councilmember Palmisano actually spoke to where folks are using the rideshare services to get to. And I also saw some data that Lyft put out on social media about downtown venues in my ward being some of the top destinations. But this is really important information that we should have. So as we continue to refine our policy, let's find ways to get that data from rideshare companies and from the Department of Labor and from our city staff here at the Community Planning and Economic Development Department to continue to have a data-informed policy, because we really do need that.
Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Council President Payne. So I will not be supporting this motion. I have been consistent that if new and additional information came forward that would challenge the findings of the current rates that were passed by council, I will happily bring the amendment myself to reflect those recommended changes, because I believe, as I said earlier, all of our policies should be rooted in factual data, not political expediency. I also have no interest in changing these rates based on corporate pressure. The same information that was provided to council on March 14th when we voted to override the mayor's veto is the same information that we have today. That said, I want to make it clear for the public that there has been no new information provided to council members to support the rate amendment before us. The only thing that may have changed is that, yes, council members are feeling pressure to go back on their votes to support some minimum wages. I also want to note, and this is really important too, that none of our near dozen new and expanding rideshare companies coming to Minneapolis have raised any concerns about the rates that we pass. In fact, they are coming to Minneapolis in response to council passing the original ordinance that put the rates at $1.40 per mile and then 51 cents per minute. The $1.21 rate compensation that we're being asked to consider today is reflective of the DLI's analysis of the 7-county metro area, which includes places like Chaska and Northfield. And I don't think I need to explain why the cost of doing business in Minneapolis is different than it is in places like Dakota County or Carver County. There has been no new information that demonstrates that our current rates are incorrect. So I will not be supporting this amendment and continue to stand with what we passed originally.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, President Payne. So I will just start off by saying I'm unable to support these compensation rates at this time in this meeting today. I also just want to take a second to kind of clarify for the public record. I think there was something said about the debate at the legislature is just in the range of 89 cents to 121. While that might be the range that is provided in the DLI study and many people are advocating within that range, there are authors at the state legislature on this bill that are calling for a rate that is higher than 121. So I just wanted to clarify that the debate is also happening outside of the range and they're figuring out their process over there. So it's not just set in 89 cents to 121. We have a process in place where we will be hearing from our policy and research team And I disagree that it's not worth hearing from them as they're working on analysis to be providing consideration of this state study. And one of the asks from many people, including myself, was let's consider the state study, and we have been able to take a deeper look through this way. And PAR will be completing their analysis next week, and I hope this body can work together to have a presentation of it where we can all be a part of it. And while a universally adopted correct per mile compensation rate data point or range may not be provided, we will be provided with additional data points to facilitate discussion on this subject. And I made a public commitment that if there was additional data and information that I could consider, I would thoughtfully be willing to make changes as long as it was about achieving our goal of a fair minimum wage for the city of Minneapolis for TNC drivers. Not because of corporate pressure, not because of politics, but because we have new information available to us, and I'm open and ready to consider it. And unfortunately, the timeline of passing a compensation rate doesn't line up. The timeline today to pass this compensation rate doesn't line up with us getting the information and the process of actually getting to use that as an informed way to have a discussion. And so I'm really glad that we have more time for our legislative process to do that.
Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair Payne. I just wanted to just kind of clear something up, because there was a comment made by Councilmember Cashman about Uber and Lyft not providing information to the city of Minneapolis. And just first, we had a presentation a few months back from city staff because there was a legislative directive, and our staff used that information from other cities to present to the council to make that decision. They never requested information from us. I don't think, as of now, city staff has ever requested information from Uber and Lyft, or has even met with Uber and Lyft. I know there was an email exchange from out of my office a month or so ago about this. Like, have you met with Uber and Lyft? Have they said no to giving you information? And staff here at the city of Minneapolis said, no, we haven't met with them, and no, we have not requested the information. We're going to wait for the state request. So I caution my colleagues about speaking to if staff hasn't received something. If they didn't ask for it, why would they receive it?
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. I forgot to mention in my earlier comments that I will be supporting this compensation change today based on the data that we have in front of us, the DLI study, which we can't confirm at this time that we will have any new data coming forward, which is why I mentioned how important it is for us to create mechanisms to ensure data transparency from the companies who are licensed and operating in our city. But I'm willing to support the compensation rates that Councilmember Koski and Councilmember Jenkins brought forward today based on the DLI study.
Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, Council President. I will not be supporting this, but I do want to mention to you and share a little bit of story of how Uber and Lyft are not just exploiting drivers, but also riders too. Yesterday was a holiday for Islamic holiday, Eid holiday. Most of the Muslim practicing drivers, majority of them that drive in Twin Cities area, have logged out yesterday around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning to go pray and spend time with their family. Well, that means there was less drivers on the road. I got some screenshots that Uber and Lyft were hiking the price for 7 minutes trip. They were charging customers, disabled or non-disabled or anybody who requested, $76 or $80 for 7 minutes trip. So they're not just exploiting drivers and paying less, but they're also exploiting riders. Less than a mile yesterday trip, and I have those screenshots right here. was $70. What does that say about them? Just want to share that with you. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. President.
Please, we need to conduct our business. Please hold your comments. Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's very clear we have a divided council on this, and we need more discussion. But I would just ask, as we go forward, to Councilmember Vita's point, let's include Uber and Lyft. Let's include the new rideshare drivers. And however, our staff was very smart and brilliant, can figure out, let's get input from the users. That's the emails that we've all been getting, is the panic and the trauma that is being caused by the users. So let's include everybody as we move forward. Thank you.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can't sit here and listen to this without also pointing out that this rate isn't within the range of the state study. One of the numbers is, the other is not. And I also need to point out, again, how much the state study is already weighted to drivers. I learned that more and more in our briefing with the commissioner herself. And the way these calculations work, if we had city-level data, which it's been clear we will not be getting from the state and has been clear for many weeks, as confirmed by the commissioner, the rates here in the city would go down. They wouldn't go up, they would go down. So I just needed to point out that at the lower end of the state study, that includes minimum wage for all parts of a trip, both a driver waiting to see riders that might be in queue and accept a ride, both the driver driving to pick up the passenger, and then when the time that the rider is in the back of their car. That 89 cents per mile rate includes vehicle acquisition, not for people who already have a car and they're going to use it for Uber or Lyft. It includes vehicle acquisition. It includes the gas, the insurance, a mobile phone, maintenance, cleaning costs, all cleaning costs, and license and registration. At the top of this range, the 121 rate, which that rate is being proposed here in this motion, it just doesn't have the other elements. It includes things that most part-time workers in our city do not have access to. It includes sick time, paid leave, health insurance, retirement savings, and unemployment insurance. All of these things are important. All of these things should be available to everybody. But for part-time workers, they generally don't have this. And independent contractors, this is usually something they need to calculate differently. Every driver for TNC can deduct 67 cents per mile, which ends up being an average, I learned from the commissioner, of $23,400 a year on their income. That's not a tax credit, that's an income credit, and that is very significant for drivers to continue to be eligible for other kinds of entitlements that the state provides, like MNsure and other kinds of programs. So I just needed to call out the facts here on where the rates are in this particular motion, because I also won't be able to support it this morning. Thank you.
I put myself into queue because I just wanted to touch on a couple of the complexities of this conversation. The top level complexity is that there's never going to be one number that captures the totality of the dynamics of this marketplace. This marketplace is inherently dynamic. So that means on any given ride or for any given driver, their expenses are going to be different than another driver. But then also on any given shift, it's going to be different. The dynamic that Councilmember Palmisano is referencing is around the difference between driving in the inner core of the city versus in the suburbs. That higher density is going to lead to you having a more efficient shift going from one rider to the next. So the P3, or the time when you have an active rider, will be a higher share of your time on shift. But if you're doing more trips to the airport, you're gonna be sitting and waiting longer for those trips. And so even on a per trip basis, the rate is gonna be different. There's not a technologically feasible way to calculate real-time expense rates on a per trip basis. That's the fundamental problem that we're trying to address here. And so we're trying to identify what is a reasonable number that will allow for the majority of these scenarios to achieve a minimum wage. This is where Councilmember Wansley is really highlighting the $1.40 rate. Although the DLI report is clear at the 89 cents on average, keyword on average, you can achieve a minimum wage on average. That's not going to be a guaranteed minimum wage for the majority of those trips because there's so much dynamic change on a per trip basis. That's why you have a lot of drivers here that are here to support this policy. That's why you have a lot of drivers here against this policy, because depending on what kind of driving you do, you are going to end up with wildly different rates. And so there are people who are doing pretty well as drivers because they are only picking and choosing trips that work for them. And it's maximizing their rates. And then there are other drivers who are doing way more types of trips, way more diversity of trips, less selective in their trips, and they're getting exploited in a different way. And so we're trying to identify a way to capture the most reasonable scenario to establish a minimum wage, and that's the fundamental challenge that we're faced with here. And so I won't be supporting this motion today because our staff is really digging into those dynamics right now. And we're only actually looking at the diversity of expenses that drivers incur, whether they're driving a brand new high-end vehicle or, a more economical older model vehicle. That's the only variability that our staff are looking into right now. They're not looking into the diversity of trips when it comes to the active rider time and what the impact might be with the variance on that. And again, to Councilmember Palmisano's point, if you have a rider in your car for the totality of the hour, that rate would go down. But we have to take into account that you're not going to have a rider in your car 100% of the time. And so that's what makes this whole conversation complex. That's why our staff are looking into the DLI report. I'm not questioning the accuracy of the DLI report. I'm highlighting the inherent nature that it is a range of diverse scenarios that lead to multiple outcomes. And we are trying to target a policy that eliminates the most egregious outcome where drivers are getting exploited to the maximum. So that's what the purpose of this is. This is why we did a time extension, so we can dig into that complexity, account for it both in our city policy and make sure that our state partners are accounting for it so that drivers across Minnesota are protected. So those were the only remarks that I wanted to share. I'm checking the queue to see if anybody is left. I see no further discussion, so I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
No.
Councilmember Chavez.
No.
No.
Councilmember Vito.
No.
Councilmember Ellison.
No.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
No.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
No.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
No.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
No.
Vice President Shugtai.
No.
President Payne.
No.
There are 3 ayes and 10 nays.
That motion fails. And are there any other further amendments? Seeing no other council members in queue, we have now adopted the motion to extend the implementation date to July 1st. No other motions passed. And so that carries and the ordinance is adopted for the mayor's consideration. Colleagues, the next order of business is notice of ordinance introductions, and we have one item today which also pertains to transportation network companies. This is a notice from council members Wansley, Chavez, and Osman to introduce at the next regular meeting the subject matter of an ordinance that amends provisions related to rates and the enforcement of minimum compensation. For context, it's my understanding that the authors are proposing further amendments to the ordinance that we just modified, but that these amendments that would introduce new content. These are amendments that would introduce new content, so therefore are following the standard legislative process to bring those changes forward. I'm happy to recognize the authors to speak to their notice and the general nature of their proposed amendments. Is there any in queue? Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Councilmember Payne. I'm sorry, Council President Payne. I, along with my co-authors, Councilmember Chavez and Osmond, we're giving this notice to include two new provisions that are crucial for successful enforcement of this ordinance. Last month, several council members brought forward amendments that mandated continuous and ongoing evaluation.
Excuse me, Council President Payne, could we clear the chambers here?
Yeah. Folks, as you make your way out of the chamber, can you please keep your voices silent? We'll just give it a minute, if that's okay, Councilmember Wansley. Okay, Councilmember Wansley, would you like to proceed?
All right, second take. So basically, last month, several council members brought forward amendments to the ordinance that mandates ongoing evaluation. In light of that, the provisions that we're bringing forward will be necessary to not only honor those amendments, but also ensure successful and accurate evaluation of the ordinance. As you highlighted, Council President Payne, these two provisions will progress through the standard legislative process starting today and should be taken up by council for a full adoption vote in late May. The legislative process gives us ample time for our colleagues and the public to consider the language, which should be included in the LIMS file with this, but I'll share a brief high-level overview of what they are. So the first provision is around fair transparency. This provision will mandate that all rideshare companies send receipts to both riders and drivers detailing how much the rider was charged, how much the driver was paid, the distance and duration of the ride, and other basic details. This ensures that the drivers and the riders are able to identify possible wage theft or other compensation violations and bring forward complaints to address them. Also, in our previous conversation around the reconsideration, I'm very happy to hear that everyone have shared agreement that we need more Minneapolis-specific data from these companies and shouldn't have to beg or wait for the state or for these TNCs to like us enough to share it. So the second provision that we're going to be bringing forward is around data disclosure. This provision will mandate that all rideshare companies must comply with data reporting to the city on a regular basis. And I think it's very clear, regular and unrestricted data is crucial for the council as well as our city staff to be able to assess and enforce the ordinance. So this amendment would guarantee the city direct access to comprehensive and Minneapolis specific data going forward. And those are the high-level overviews, and look forward to having more conversations about them in the coming weeks.
Seeing no one else in queue, with that, notice is given and no further action is required today. That means that the council has finished its business addressing transportation network companies for this meeting. The next order of business is resolutions. As shown on the agenda, we have 3 honorary resolutions today. Are there any questions or comments from council members on any of those resolutions? Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, President Payne. I just wanted to comment on, on all 3 of the resolutions and thank my colleagues for passing these. The first honorary resolution honoring Camille Gage was passed a few months ago. Ms. Gage was a prominent member in our community, working with communities of color, particularly in the indigenous Native American communities, a local artist, feminist. She was a member of one of the first all-female bands called Tech Noir. And so we did get a request from some of the members of the band to correct some of the information that we had in the resolution. So it was essentially just a correction. But thank you, colleagues, for supporting that. And then certainly the 50-year anniversary, I mean, we talked about that extensively this morning. And again, want to just acknowledge the city of Minneapolis leading the nation in the recognition of LGBT and particularly transgender rights. And this body has been very actively supporting that as well. And then lastly, there is an honorary resolution honoring Ms. Adrienne Radcliffe, who was a very prominent member of our community, very active in democratic politics with a small d, but DFL politics as well. Her sister was the park board superintendent for many, many years, Miss Mary Merrill, and her nephew was State Senator Jeff Hayden. And so just want to thank my colleagues for supporting this resolution today. And Ms. Radcliffe, may she rest in peace, was a very, very active and prominent member of our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jenkins. Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too want to acknowledge my gratitude for my colleagues for the 50th anniversary of the Gay Rights Ordinance. And I want to thank again Lee Munich, who was on the council, the Ward 7 member at the time, who brought this to our attention, and Patrick Sadler from my office, who was a great wordsmith, Emily Koski, Councilmember Koski in her office, thank you for grabbing the ball and taking the lead on this. It's very important to, for two reasons. One, to recognize that we stand on the shoulders of some really great council members. And, you know, we saw them today. You know, 50 years is a long time. I would love to see us 50 years from now. Hopefully we can get together and laugh and sit in the back room and be friends. And there were some that weren't able to come today. I just want to remind you, we do have a civil rights department and an HR department, so leave me alone. If I may continue. It's really, really great to have friends. Thank you. In particular, there are several that were not able to come. Council President Lou DeMars was unable to come today. And there was a very young, dynamic council member from the 4th Ward, the first Democrat ever elected in the 4th Ward, John Darris, whose health prevented him from today. So thank you, John, if you're watching. And I want to conclude with bringing up the memory of Brother Michael Collins, who grew up in the projects in North Minneapolis, was a dynamic educator at De La Salle. And he always reminded us that if you do not celebrate success, it never happens. And today we celebrated success, and I'm so grateful for my colleagues for that unanimous vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Rainville. Councilmember Jenkins.
Yeah, thank you, President Payne. I just wanted to get in queue. Councilmember Rainville reminded me that I should really have thanked my staff as well, who really worked hard and diligently on all 3 resolutions, and including the formal celebration that was this morning as well. And, you know, I'm not sure if I'll be around 50 years from now, Councilmember Rainville, but I do think some of the decisions that we make on this body will stand up for 50 years. And hopefully our predecessors will, or successors, I should say, will recognize those contributions.
Thank you, Councilmember Jenkins. Councilmember Koski.
Thank you, President Payne. I will just add a couple of a few more remarks and gratitude for a few others that helped out. Councilmember Chowdhury's team a day helped us with a really beautiful graphic, and this is a really good example too. When we all work together and collaborate, they came in and said, "Well, do you have an invitation? Do you have something that looks cool?" I was like, "Ooh, I'm not sure." She's like, "I'm on it." So grateful for that. And Patrick from Councilmember Rainville's team, he is the one who wrote the resolution and did it so quickly and so elegantly. I will also say in Councilmember Payne's office, Ben was integral in making sure that we were inviting and including all of our city staff, and was really important in the writing of the resolution as well. And Christina from Councilmember Jenkins' office too was right on it, just making sure we were getting the invitation out. And for Corinne from my team, who was really the glue to get everybody together. And, we had many meetings, several meetings with the former aldermen, and they were long-winded because they really love to tell the stories. And I'll be honest, I am shocked. Not because of their memories, but that sometimes I don't know that I can remember a meeting that happened 2 weeks ago. And they, in very distinct, could remember the room and what they practically were wearing and exactly what somebody said from 50 years ago in these meetings. So it's been really heartfelt. And I will also say, becoming a council member, I guess on the shoulders of my father, who was a council member and then mayor, I didn't really know that any of the work that we did would ever coincide. And this was one of those things that like Councilmember Rainville said, one of the former aldermen approached us, and I was just really grateful that we could continue to celebrate and support the work that those have done before us. It was also just really amazing to have so many trailblazers here with us today, and youth, to be able to see that our work is not done, and it's just continuing. And this morning we had a lovely breakfast, and I will just end with this, that love is love.
Thank you, Councilmember Koski. May I have a motion to adopt all three honorary resolutions?
So moved.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Rain.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember
Aye.
Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and those resolutions are adopted. We have a request for a closed session today, so before we recess for that closed session, I'll ask if there's any announcements from council members. Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Council President Payne. I just wanted to quickly give my colleagues an assignment. I didn't have time to bring a resolution forward, but in the Affordable Connectivity Program is probably going to end in the next month or so. And so I'd love for us to reach out to electeds and ask them to support and figure out a way. So in 2021, as a part of the bipartisan infrastructure law, Congress established the Affordable Connectivity Program. It's a $14.2 billion program which supports eligible low-income households struggling to afford monthly internet services by ensuring that such households have the connections and equipment they need for work, school, healthcare, and participation in society more generally. And since its inception, the ACP's monthly discounts towards internet service and one-time discount on purchase of laptop, desktop, and tablet have helped over 23 million households, including 55,000 households in Hennepin County. Nearly half of those households are military families, and 1 in 4 are African American, and 1 in 4 are Latino. However, the Federal Communications Commission ceased to accept new applications for the ACP on February 8th of 2024, as the initial $14.2 billion appropriation by Congress is expected to run out in April of 2024. And so without further action from Congress, the ACP will sunset, causing millions of Americans, a lot of people who live here in Minneapolis, to lose their access to vital technology infrastructure. So please, colleagues, I'm going to be urging the mayor as well. As I said, I didn't have time to bring the resolution forward for us to vote on because we only have a couple weeks, and Ken told me I couldn't. So I wasn't able to do that, but I would urge you all to send out emails, make phone calls, text messages, whatever we can do. My office will send out what I was proposing as the resolution to everyone. And then I'll just end with Councilmember Rainville. I'm the third eldest council member here, and so I'm not trying to be an ageist, but 50, that's reaching it. That's a long way. I'm the third oldest council member, so I'm not trying to shade you for being the oldest. I'm just saying.
Next time I go and work out, I'm going to bring you with me.
Okay.
What?
Decorum. Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would be remiss as a poet if I didn't announce that April is National Poetry Month. And I thought I would just share a brief poem by one of my favorite poets. I call him my poetic grandfather, Langston Hughes. The Negro speaks of rivers. I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood and human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo and it lulled me to sleep. I looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I've known rivers, ancient dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. With indulgence, April is also Parliamentary Law Month, not nearly as interesting as Poetry Month. But in all seriousness, Mr. President, this week there was a significant cosmic or celestial event, and it captivated much of the world's attention. Our own Jackie Hansen was on a much-deserved vacation to observe the solar eclipse, and her absence caused her to miss celebrating the occasion of her 39th anniversary of service to the city of Minneapolis, which was this past Monday, April 8th. Jackie's given 39 dedicated years to the city, all of those spent in the clerk's office. During her tenure, you can imagine she's worked with numerous council members and mayors, so when you talk about recording the history of your actions, Jackie's actually done that. All council members, past and present, know that she is the solid foundation of the clerk's office, and all of the leaders across the enterprise recognize that Jackie is the heart of our operation in the clerk's office as well. She graciously allows me to use the title, but she is in fact the city's clerk. And I'm grateful to work alongside her and want to take this opportunity to both recognize and embarrass her and to thank her for so many years of excellent service to the city of Minneapolis.
Councilmember Koski.
Is what we call the bee run, and it's down on Boom Island.
All right. With that, We've completed all of the items on our agenda and will now consider requests for a closed session, which is to receive a briefing on the legal claim listed on the agenda. Before I move to close the meeting, I'll recognize the city attorney to provide the legal basis for the requested closed session.
Thank you, Council President. The next item on the agenda is the claim of Flavio Marcella Lala Cinci versus City of Minneapolis. Your lawyers wish to discuss with the council litigation strategy and/or settlement possibilities with respect to this claim. Accordingly, under the Minnesota Open Meeting Law, Minnesota Statutes Section 13D.05, Subdivision 3B, the council may, upon a proper motion, close the meeting for the purposes of attorney-client communication as permitted by the attorney-client privilege. In considering the motion, the council should weigh the right of the public to know what its government is doing against the need of the city to preserve the confidentiality of its discussions with its lawyers.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. I move to close our public meeting as authorized under the Open Meeting Law, specifically Minnesota Statutes Section 13D.05, for the purpose of receiving a briefing on the claim of Flavio Marcella Lala Cinci versus the City of Minneapolis. May I have a second to that motion?
Second.
The clerk will call roll.
Councilmember Rainville. Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
I put myself in queue. I had a question about MCDA.
It's next.
Oh, it's after closed session?
We have to make this motion to close this meeting, and then we're going to take up MCDA.
Got it. Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries. Before we proceed to our closed session, we will adjourn this meeting and convene the 2024 organizational meeting of the Minneapolis Community Development Agency. We have some business to transact that won't take long, which is related to action taken by council today. After that meeting is adjourned, we will convene in our closed session. For the viewing public, I will note that once we've adjourned the MDCA meeting, the broadcast of this meeting will continue, and the council will reconvene in public after we've concluded the closed session. With that, I'll recognize Councilmember Ellison to convene the MCDA organizational meeting.
Thank you, President Payne. So, welcome to the regular meeting for the Minneapolis Community Development Agency Board of Commissioners for April 11th, 2024. My name is Jeremiah Ellison, and I am the vice chair of this committee. Do we need any context around this meeting? Okay, cool. Do my colleagues have any questions about MCDA? I'll just proceed. All right. At this time, I'll just ask the clerks to call the roll.
Commissioner Payne.
Present.
Commissioner Wansley.
Present.
Commissioner Rainville.
Present.
Commissioner Vita.
Present.
Commissioner Osman.
Present.
Commissioner Cashman.
Present.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez.
Present.
Commissioner Shugtai.
Present.
Commissioner Koski.
Present.
Commissioner Chowdhury.
Here.
Commissioner Palmisano.
Here.
Vice Chair Ellison.
Here.
There are 13 members present.
All right, sounds good. Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. The agenda for today's meeting is before us. I'll move to adopt the agenda and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Wansley.
Aye.
Commissioner Rainville.
Aye.
Commissioner Vita.
Aye.
Commissioner Osman.
Aye.
Commissioner Cashman.
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Chavez.
Aye.
Commissioner Shugtai.
Aye.
Commissioner Koski.
Aye.
Commissioner Chowdhury.
Aye.
Commissioner Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice Chair Ellison.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
Next, I'll accept the minutes on the November 16th, 2023 meeting and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Wansley.
Aye.
Commissioner Rainville.
Aye.
Commissioner Vita.
Aye.
Commissioner Osman.
Aye.
Commissioner Cashman.
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Chavez.
Aye.
Commissioner Shugtai.
Aye.
Commissioner Koski.
Aye.
Commissioner Chowdhury.
Aye.
Commissioner Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice Chair Ellison.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
I will now move to designate April 11th, 2024 as the annual meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the MCDA and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Wansley.
Aye.
Commissioner Rainville.
Aye.
Commissioner Vitaw.
Aye.
Commissioner Osmond.
Aye.
Commissioner Cashman.
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Chavez.
Aye.
Commissioner Shugtai.
Aye.
Commissioner Koski.
Aye.
Commissioner Chowdhury.
Aye.
Commissioner Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice Chair Ellison.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and that motion is approved. I will now move to amend the bylaws of the MCDA to replace the Minneapolis City Council Standing Committee name of Economic Development and Regulatory Services, wherever it appears to read Business, Housing, and Zoning, and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Wansley.
Aye.
Commissioner Rainville.
Aye.
Commissioner Vitaw.
Aye.
Commissioner Osmond.
Aye.
Commissioner Cashman.
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Chavez.
Aye.
Commissioner Chugtai.
Aye.
Commissioner Koski.
Aye.
Commissioner Chowdhury.
Aye.
Commissioner Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice Chair Ellison.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and that motion is approved. Our next item is the election of officers. I am the lone surviving officer from the last term. But I will move to nominate the following commissioners to serve as MCDA officers. First, I want to move to nominate Jamal Osmond as the chair. I'll move to nominate myself as the vice chair. And I will move to nominate Councilmember Chowdhury as the secretary, and I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on that.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Wansley.
Aye.
Commissioner Rainville.
Aye.
Commissioner Vitaw.
Aye.
Commissioner Osmond.
Aye.
Commissioner Cashman.
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Chavez.
Aye.
Commissioner Chugtai.
Aye.
Commissioner Koski.
Aye.
Commissioner Chowdhury.
Aye.
Commissioner Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice Chair Ellison.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
All right, it's a new day for the MCDA. All right, the last item on our agenda is a consent item referred by the MCDA Operating Committee from the meeting of March 26, 2024. It is authorizing the appropriate city officers to execute an amendment on contract 7257 Convention Center Hotel Parking Ramp lease between the Minneapolis Community Development Agency and the city to renew the lease for an additional 10 years effective on April 1, 2024. I'll move approval of this item and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Wansley.
Aye.
Commissioner Rainville.
Aye.
Commissioner Vitaw.
Aye.
Commissioner Osmond.
Aye.
Commissioner Cashman.
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Chavez.
Aye.
Commissioner Shugtai.
Aye.
Commissioner Koski.
Aye.
Commissioner Chowdhury.
Aye.
Commissioner Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice Chair Ellison.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
This item is approved. Thank my colleagues for humoring this. I know it's kind of technical, and congrats to the new officers, except me because I'm in the same role. And seeing no further business before us, and with no objection, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Nice. Nicely done.
The time is now 12:33, and the City Council has reconvened in open session following our closed session. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll to prove the presence of a quorum.
Councilmember Brainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez
Aye.
is here. Councilmember Vita.
Present.
Councilmember Ellison is absent. Councilmember Koski.
Present.
Councilmember Wansley.
Here.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Present.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Present.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Present.
Councilmember Cashman.
Present.
Councilmember Osman.
Present.
Vice President Shugtai.
Present.
President Payne.
Present.
There are 12 members present.
Let the record reflect we have a quorum. At this time, I will call on Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Council President Payne. I move that the Minneapolis City Council hereby approves the settlement of all claims, known or unknown, made in Flavio Marcelo Lala Centri versus the City of Minneapolis related to the traffic accident that occurred on or about September 29th, 2023, by payment of the amount of $475,000 through his attorney, payable to the Felix Zaskaska Law account from fund originating 06940-1500-100-145-690 and authorizes the city attorney's office to execute any documents necessary for settlement related council actions. Council 2024 A0019, approval of no fault benefits.
Is there a second?
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai. President Payne.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
That motion carries. We have no further business to come before the council, and without objection, this meeting is adjourned.